Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's time for another live stream. Today is Tuesday, August 17th, 2020. 18th, August 18th. So close. How's everybody doing today? It's 3 p.m. here in New Vienna, Iowa. Another balmy day. Hardly a cloud in the sky. We got a pretty nice breeze coming in and mild temperatures, low humidity. It's pretty fantastic out right now. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Let's see who's here today. We got Jay Page, recycled on Wednesday. We got Luis Becerra says, yo, what's going on? Patrick Bung. It's hot where he is, 30 degrees Celsius. Whew. Martha's here. Roadrunner Reviews, getting the SL20 word of the day out of the way. Yeah, I'll just do this. Yay! Because I haven't figured out a good word of the day sound for it. So we'll figure out something for the SL20. But yeah, I think my time with the SL20 is coming close to an end. Not because it's wearing out, but I went for another run with it today, 11.5 miles. And that puts me at about 95 miles with the shoe. So I'll do one more, maybe 94 miles. So I'll put in one more run and then I'll be at the 100-mile mark. And then, that'll kind of be it. It'll be time to let it go, and maybe my nephews will be able to appreciate it, or it'll get donated somewhere, and hopefully someone else can enjoy that fantastic shoe. But yeah, we got that out of the way at 2:59 before the live stream even started. So we're getting to it really early. Let's see, we got Chris McLean coming in, says it's evening where he is, says an evening all. Myra Drennan is here. Martha says, wonder if it'll be trivia day. It's not going to be a trivia day today. I just lost track of time, and I'm just being a bad live streamer at this point. Not a ton of excuses. I had a little bit of an excuse yesterday for missing the Monday mukbang, and then but today I don't really have an excuse. But I will tell you why I don't have it. It's because my daughter has been bugging me for a while to make a video with her. This is something that we used to do from time to time, just because, when you're in the city, you try to find ways to do things with the kids, and especially when things were kind of in lockdown, we tried to find stuff that we could do that would be entertaining, take a little while, but not be too challenging, that she would lose interest. So we would make videos. So we made some slime videos. We made some. I think we've done a couple of we filmed an LOL doll unboxing video. I don't think I ever edited that one. But anyway, we would make videos, and she's been wanting to make some cooking videos. She's been very into cooking this summer. I think being in grandma's kitchen where there's just lots of space, and there's also tables and counters that are her height, help. We also got her some kitty knives, those chef's knives that are made out of I don't know if they're ceramic or just a very hard plastic or what it is, but they're sharp enough that they can cut, but not so sharp that they could cut a child. So she's been using that. So we filmed one today. She's been making tortilla chips from tortillas. So we did that, and I just made the video, and we'll probably post it. I was going to try and post it. We have a little Instagram account for her that just family members use. I don't really use Facebook anymore. I find it to be a generally unhappy place. So that would normally be the kind of place that I would put it. But I was going to put it on Facebook, her Instagram account, which I've set to private. But it's a video that I couldn't set up or upload an Instagram TV video. And I forget, there must be some sort of minimum follower requirement or something along those lines. Just can't figure out how to get that. I'll just have to look into it. So I might have to put it on to her YouTube channel. But I don't think anyone, it's a pretty small channel. No one's going to find it. So security by obscurity kind of thing. But that's what I've been doing, and she's just been hounding me, and she was looking over my shoulder as I was editing. She's like, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" I was like, "No, I'm not done yet. I'm working as fast as I can." So that's what I've been doing. That's it doesn't excuse it, but that's the reason why there's no Trivia Tuesday today. Let's see. Martha says, "I bet your daughter could learn to prepare a mean almond butter ball." I think she could, and that might be the better way to do it. Maybe we'll do a video together. We could put it on the channel, on my YouTube channel, if she wants to do that. To have to, make sure mom's okay with it too. She's been on the channel, but from time to time. But yeah, because she likes making those, and she's made them. I've never made them personally. My wife makes them a lot of the time with the girls, so she probably already knows how to do it. Let's see. Stevie76 says Kofuzi toy review. You know, I've made a couple of toy review videos. I've done some on, like, Amazon used to have, I don't know if they still do, has a like a STEM subscription box that you can do, and it was just like it got annoying after a while, but we would review it and kind of like make them, and they were kind of fun to do. I think she likes to do them, but you know, it's not something where I'm like pushing her to have a channel, because she like, there's times where she's just absolutely not interested in it, and I felt like if we were trying to like really do something, I would start to get really like not aggressive, but I feel like I'd become a very high pressure parent in that instance. And even today, as I was like filming her, I was like trying to like coach her and just feed her some lines, and I was like, I just gotta let it go and let her do it her way, you know. So Luis Becerra's getting his SL20s tomorrow. Awesome. And I think I saw something from Jay Page saying that they're out. Oh no, she said the SL20 is out of the way. Okay, all right. I was worried that they're sold out. I just wonder how many they have that like they keep selling them for so cheap, and yet they're still like, no one's like, they're sold out, you can't get them anywhere. Let's see. Mark Chankoko says, what's up? And Chris Yao says his bike yesterday survived. He went 1.38 miles on it, so further than my initial bike failure, so very cool. Eventually I will do a video about the bike and about the adventure, but you guys already know the story, so I feel like at least I've already got the story out there. And as Dunbar says, hi Kofuzi and everyone. I had my first run in the new Torrent 2s today. I really like them. They're a pair of shoes I bought with my own money. That's funny. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed them. Lewis Cameron says, yo, what's going on, everyone? And Reed Morris says, hey, crew. My mom says hello from New Jersey. Hi, Mom. How are you? I think it's supposed to be really hot for you guys, isn't it? Hopefully you guys are staying cool. Jacob Blue says hello. And Tony Masi says, missed yesterday, but made it today. Good to have you. Good to have you here. Yeah, Capital Runner says, yo, what's your thoughts on changing running technique from heel to forefoot strike? You know, I have kind of two opinions on it, and one is, for the most part, I think for most people, you know, your heel strike or your foot strike is like is more of like, it's not a reflection of you as a runner that's immutable, right? Like, there's some things that are relatively immutable. I'm never going to be like a 100-meter sprinter, right? That's like immutable. I could do a lot of work. I could get a lot faster. I can improve. But I'm never going to be able to compete, probably even amongst my age group, as like a 100-meter sprinter. That's like somewhat unchangeable. I think foot strike, though, is not necessarily that immutable. I think that's something that changes over time. For example, the same runner, when they first start out running, is going to have a very different gait than when they've been running for a season. And then if that runner keeps continuing on and doesn't take too many long breaks and has some consistency, their foot strike's going to change even still. And then even at that point, when you're fresh, when you're rested, when you're racing, when you're tired, that same person is going to have a different foot strike at different kind of like times. And my overall opinion and thought on it is that your foot strike is currently optimized for your body's current level of fitness and fatigue. And so there are certain times where you get sloppy, but you know, a lot of people, when you get tired, they'll start like thinking, oh, I got to have perfect form. I got to look a certain way when I'm running. And I'm not sure. I think that's good. Just general advice in terms of motivation, in terms of like, all right, get the muscles moving, don't quit, don't give up. But to another extent, I'm not sure that it's helpful. It may be a little bit of wasted energy. So, I mean, that's kind of like the overall like thoughts of where I am on foot strike. As your body strengthens, your foot strike kind of improves itself, consistent with your unique anatomy. So I feel like it's kind of like the way that, like, if you think about it, toddlers run a certain way, and children run a certain way that doesn't look like a classic running gait, but like they run in a way that's optimized for their current balance and center of gravity, and you know, all those kinds of things that kids are going through in growth spurts. So that's kind of like the overall way I think about it, is like it's a function of time. Like, where are you? When are you in like your overall progression? I'm at a place where I'm thinking about my foot strike now because I've been at a certain level of fitness for a long time, and I think that there are some things biomechanically that are going wrong, and so I'm thinking about changing it. I probably need to do that with the supervision of a coach or a form coach. I'm not really that interested in that, other than doing some very, very minor things that I know that I can do in terms of shortening the stride a little bit based on things that I've seen from viewing my own running footage. But I think more the solution that I need is not so much focusing on changing my foot strike, but strengthening all kind of like the I mean, I think I have quad strength. I think I have hamstring strength. I think I have calf strength. But like all the other ancillary muscles that are around all the joints, I think I need to strengthen those a little bit because I think I have some imbalance issues. So that's kind of my thoughts on changing it. They're not conventional. I don't think that's what most like coaches would think. All right, let's see what else we got here. Hopefully that made sense and that wasn't just a big ramble. Dennis Cheek says, "Saludos a todos." Awesome. Chen Zhao says, "Dang, I think that video will make me want to have some kids." Well, I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to make videos like that, but like, yeah, it's hard because like there's been a lot of things that we've been doing this summer that the kids are like, "Can we do this now? Can we do this now? Can we do this now?" And we're just like, "Can we just not do it right now, please?" And like they keep asking, and after like the 15th time of like, I told them I totally said yes that I would do this with them, then you kind of feel guilty, and then you feel guilty about feeling guilty and not having getting it done. So, the joys of parenting. But I think that I'm glad that I make videos like this from time to time because they're fun little like, speaking of like kind of like slices of time, like in terms of foot strike, they're like just like these little like, like slices of parenting that are very unique to the way that I parent and like what I'm doing and what she's doing, kind of at the time. All right, J. Mark Remy's here. Good to see you. And Motivation Theory Running says, "I concentrate more on core alignment and turnover more than anything." Yeah, I think Motivation Theory Running, I think we're kind of talking about similar things. You probably said it much more concisely than I did. It took me like 3 minutes of stream of consciousness to get there. But yeah, I think that like having things being aligned, being balanced is important. Yeah. Reed Morris says, "More important that you're landing underneath yourself, not in front, than in mid versus heel strike. If you land in front, you're putting a ton of impact through your joints." Yeah, and you know what? That's something that I think Martha commented on a video the other day, a very similar thought, and something that I remember in a drill that I learned when I was learning how to hurdle is, picking up your foot and putting it right back down underneath you really quickly. So instead of thinking of like your foot strike as like something that like cycles, thinking of it as something that really just goes like this, like almost like a piston, is kind of how I mentally visualize it. I mean, obviously, if you did that, you would not have any forward propulsion. But like, if you think more about it that way in terms of like, that's the foot strike motion rather than this is the foot strike motion, for me, mentally, it kind of helps it make more sense in terms of I tend to overreach with my right side. And I think that as I do that, I'm kicking out my heel a little bit. I don't know. I'm doing a lot of things. But I also am worried about like, I can't like keep microanalyzing my stride. I think I just need to focus on just strengthening all the muscles so they can perform optimally. Jody Runs is here, says, "Good day, everyone." Tony uses, "Ever listened to or read about David Goggins' story?" Yeah, I listened to his book on audiobook. It's incredible. It's insane. I mean, it also has like so many stories of like, you get the whole, what's interesting is you get the whole David Goggins story because it's a book. It's finished, but like, if you had met him at any, like if he had like, for example, if he had been on, one of the things I've been thinking about lately is like, if he had been on social media, like during the journey, and I know like people were writing about him and he was like, people were aware of him and people were writing about like his successes and failures in real time. But like, I feel like if there was if he was like today in 2020 social media environment, like going out to like get that pull-up record, or going for, SEAL training, and then he did like some sort of Air Force training as well. I can't remember the exact ones, but like, or like duct taping his ankles together, or continuing on some of those ultra runs. Like, just, I think it'd be amazing to see like the way people would respond to it on social media, in terms of like how many people would be like, you're gonna kill yourself that way, which a lot of the things that he does probably would end up killing most people, but then he would end up doing it and succeeding, and it's just be kind of interesting to see that. I don't know. Before, earlier today, I was having kind of a lower moment. Not low self-esteem, but you go in ebbs and flows. Like, social media gives you a lot of good stuff, but like sometimes it like inflicts a lot of negative energy on you. And today was just like a lot of negative energy today, and so it just kind of felt not so great. So I was having a low moment, but I'm trying not to dwell in it too much. Try not to let it drag me down too much. But yeah. So that's why I was thinking about David Goggins today a little bit. All right, Nico De Simone is here. Mr. Random, awesome. Ozen von Backstros. Ozen von Backstros asks, "What's your average cadence, everyone?" Yeah, I mean I think that kind of goes into context with like the we got some numbers coming in somewhere from 175 to 185.90. Where everyone says like the 180 is a magic number, and not everyone. I mean, like everyone, and also like really well respected coaches and stuff. That seems to be like the magic efficiency number for a lot of people. And what I have noticed is that I've typically on my easy runs been a lot lower than that. But then I found that lately, as I've been trying to like, do that up and down motion with the foot strike, pick your foot up and just put it right down underneath you again. My cadence is hitting like almost 180 exactly. So that's been pretty interesting. Will W says, Kofuzi, have you ever had a Pegasus Zoom Air bag pop on you? I suspect that I've had it happen once or twice on shoes once they've gotten kind of like really old. But it's also just kind of hard to tell with some of the older Pegasus because, the Cushlon, it didn't hold up the best over time. And there were like, I still have my Pegasus 33 shields somewhere at home in Chicago. And I wear those around. And every time I wear them, I'm like, it takes a minute to get used to like, oh, this is the same shoe that I remember. But also like when I step in it, there's like nothing there. So like the front airbag is like, there's nothing to it. And like the cushion is worn down. I feel like I'm walking on like basically insole, So, I mean, it does die after a while. It loses some of that bounce back. So I kind of had that. Martha says her cadence is 188 almost always, and it was ever since she started running. Wow, interesting. MC1796 says he has his at about 185. Oh. Mark Chankoko says, I'm going to have to Google cadence. LOL. That's funny. Yeah. Let's see. Ozenfant Backstro says, I struggle to get it over 170 most of my runs. Might be too slow. I think it depends also. Rainwater says cadence equals, doesn't it depend on how fast one is going? Yeah, I mean, it changes. It changes. Well, I mean, I think that there are some differing opinions on that. I think there are some people that say you should run the same cadence and also maintain the same or very similar form no matter what speed you're going, which I find hard to believe. But it can vary depending on height and also how fast you're going. So like their cadence when you're like going on an easy run is going to be a little bit different than a cadence when you're in like mile repeats. So, I mean, that's going to be some extreme differences, but it's also going to change based on your terrain as well. So if you're going up a hill, you're going to chop that stride a little bit shorter too, kind of like changing gears on a bike, going to a easier to pedal gear. I don't know if it's taller or shorter or higher or lower. I always get those confused, but you're going to make it so it's easier. And same thing with like making the steps real, like the stride length is going to be real short when you're going uphill. So it does change, but I think when a lot of people are talking about it, they're talking about it generally like on an average. And for Ozenfant, I know like Andy FOD runner, he's for a long time was trying to get his to 180, and I like think he resigned himself to thinking that like he's just too tall, that 180 isn't like a reasonable number for him to try to shoot for. It's not an efficient number. So while I think he could get there, it just wasn't comfortable for him to be at that speed, and it wasn't helping him to run any better. So I think his are in the 170s as well. David Lou says, what's your favorite pair of running shoes? I just mentioned the Pegasus 33 Shield. A lot of sentimental value in that, but I also think it was just a really great shoe. The fit was great. It was a winter version. I love the colors. Every time I get another Pegasus, I try to get it in those similar colors. And then I did one for the first time with a Nike Bayou, like the customized, and that's kind of what I was going for with that design. Will W says he had the 37s deflate when some goat heads got stuck into the shoe, but Nike is sending a replacement, so I hope it was just a bad pair. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know what a goat head is, but yeah, I would imagine though if the Pegasus 37 Zoom airbag deflated, you would definitely know it because it's supposed to be a lot bigger. At least from the pictures that I've seen, it looks like an airbag, right? And like previous versions of Zoom Air, like it was weird to call it an air bag because it didn't look like like when you looked at the like the Air Max, like the older ones, like the 97 or like some of the older or classic Air Max versions where there's like a bubble that you could see in there. It looked like an inner tube almost. Zoom Air looks very different, and it's very, very thin. It's only like a handful of millimeters thin, so it's harder to tell when it deflates. And I think that was always kind of like an issue with like once it got older, you're like, did it deflate? Is it just getting old? I'm not sure, but it was something that I would hear about from people from time to time saying like, yeah, mine deflated over the weekend. I had a buddy break his because he tried to break in his shoe because he felt like the upper was too tight. It was on a Peg 35, which is the really tight year. And he put like a can of soup inside it and left it in there overnight, and I think it just like crushed the airbag and messed up the Cushlon. Running Addict says he's so happy because New Balance finally added Fresh From to the new 860 version 11. 860 is 860. That's the stability version. Am I right on that, Running Addict? I think so. All right. Shannon says, I felt like I was trotting when I first increased my cadence with transitioning from heel to foot strike. It felt more tiring at first, then my body adjusted. Interesting. And Reed Morris says, cadence was important for me to stay healthy. With a lower cadence, I was landing in front of my body and got stress fracture. Interesting. Yeah, Sean Marshall confirms that 860 is a stability shoe. Yes. Very cool. Interesting. Simon Evans says, tried running with a metronome app last week. I was getting some weird looks from people as I ran past with my foot hitting the ground in time to the really loud beeps. Did you have it you had it clicking? You didn't have it on earbuds or anything? That's pretty funny. Simon. That's pretty awesome. I think we need to I think I would love to see video of that. Of you having the clicking the as you're running by and people are like, what is that? That'd be pretty funny. Today I almost terrified. I did terrify a woman out there today. So I was on one of my routes that takes me on a particularly it's a road. It's not a dirt road, but it's an actual road. But there is decent traffic on it, but it's not one of the main roads out here. And I was running, and I could see in the distance someone on my side of the road, and I was like, is that a bike coming up? Is that a motorcycle? But I kept seeing it, and it wasn't moving very quickly. I eventually realized it was an older woman walking, And so, I was like, well, there's probably enough room for me to get around her on the side, because she was walking like right on the edge of like the pavement and not on like the gravel shoulder. And so I can get further on the gravel shoulder, even run in a little bit of the grass. It's kind of in a ditch, but I can do that a little bit and run by. I was like, you know what? I'll just go to the other side of the street. And so I was on the other side of the street, and then a truck came by at the same time, like in between us. And then as soon as it passed, I happened to be like almost like side to side with her. And I thought it'd be weird when you're out in the middle of nowhere and to not say hi to like another pedestrian. So I gave her a good morning. I say good morning to every person that I ever see. And I gave her a good morning, and she goes, "Oh goodness, you just terrified me." Or I was like, "Goodness, you just really scared me," or something like that. And I felt really bad, and I was like, "Sorry, hope you're having a good day." But she was terrified. The thing is, I think I've seen her out there before, because there's been another time when I've been out running and I'm like, I am on the Dubuque County, Delaware County border. Like, there are no houses out here. There are a handful of farms, and there's like farmhouses, so people live at the farms. But like, it's not like I'm in a neighborhood or a subdivision. And I saw another like person walking before. It must be the same person. And I think she saw me the other time too. But I just really scared her to death. And I think with the truck coming in, I think I just I was like, I think I kind of appeared out of nowhere for her. So. Motivation Theory Running says, I had a woman run next to me with a metronome out loud in the Marine Corps Marathon one year, and it drove me crazy. I had to increase speed to get away, but it was difficult with the leapfrogging. That's funny. Here's the big question. Did you find yourself running to the beat of her metronome app? That's what I would love to know. Oh, man. Kyle Thomas asks, I know you mentioned battery life when you talk against the Apple Watch. What would your thoughts be if battery life lasted a few days for you? Would you still prefer grit, and why? Size difference? Aesthetically, one thing is I hate the square watch face. I don't like it at all. I like for the watch to look like a watch. Then that to me means round watch face, so I kind of like it to be round. The other thing is, it'd be much more compelling if I could actually like wear it for a couple of days, and I could charge it quickly enough where pretty much putting it on the charger while I'm in the shower gets me through like most of the week. And then the night before my long run, I might put it on the charger for like a couple hours just to make sure I'm topped up, kind of thing. That's kind of what I would look for. And I wouldn't care if it was a little bit heavier, because it does have everything else that I need, with the exception of a couple of things. I like buttons. I like physical buttons. I don't like having to touch the screen. I almost never touch the screen, even on the Grit. I always use the buttons to kind of swipe between stuff, because I'm sweaty. I've got sunscreen on. I'm disgusting. So like if I touch the screen once, the whole screen is smudged, and it gets even harder to see. So that's the other thing about it. I like having buttons to do all the things, like to switch between screens. I don't want to swipe to see different kinds of data. As it is now, like I've been running the past couple of days, doing a couple of surges up hills. And so from then, what I do then is I switch from a heart rate oriented set of data metrics to a power oriented set of metrics. And I can tell by feeling it tactile which button to press to switch to that screen. With the Apple Watch, I guess I could just tactilely, or like without having to look at it, swipe over. But I'd have to I think you have to lift it up to wake it up and then swipe. I mean, interacting with anything that has only one button, I mean, I know technically it has two, but those buttons aren't mappable per like OS rules. Some of them aren't. Sometimes it's not completely mappable because of OS like design rules. So that's like the other thing that like keeps me from like making the Apple Watch my one and only. I'd love to have one and only to do everything, but I think that's kind of like the bigger issues. That, and I like the sleep tracking on Polar more than I like. And I'm only trying a couple of different sleep tracking apps on the Apple Watch, and I just don't find them as specifically tailored towards running or someone who's an athlete. The one that I have tried on the Apple Watch, it's like, you slept, great. And I'm like, okay. It could track when I fell asleep and when I didn't, but I need some help like interpreting that data. Blas Grabnar says, Nick Simmons and his coach never looked at Cadence. Also, you can have Cadence reminders on Garmin. Don't know if it has sound or just vibration. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know Garmin did that. Viet Nguyen says, yeah, my Garmin has a cadence tracker on it. Oh, interesting. Jody Runs asks, when running with the New Balance 1080, did you have any issues with the rubbing on top of foot? I've tried adjusting the laces, but without luck. I didn't sense any of that. No, I'm sorry. I don't remember experience any rubbing or kind of issues on the top of the foot. Robert Moreno says, I've been listening to reggae. Where'd that go? As soon as I get, yeah. No. I'm behind. I says, I've been listening to reggae and staying that pace, trying to slow myself down during my first half marathon training cycle. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I have been thinking about putting, or just like trying one of those like 180 beats per minute playlists. I think that would be pretty interesting. Lewis M says, love the Hot Ones tee, and they have a collab with Reebok coming out soon. I didn't know that. I'm worried about Hot Ones though, to be completely honest, because there's like a game show now, and I just feel like, oh, we're jumping the shark here. So like this is like the way it all ends, kind of. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. With Reebok, interesting. Let's see. Patrick Fung says, funny, I spooked someone while running this morning as well. I said, hi, good morning. Then said the most Canadian thing, sorry. I said sorry too, so it's not necessarily a Canadian thing. But it is kind of a Canadian thing to say sorry. Very, very, very funny. And Rainrunner says, I believe that's sorry. I can't say it in the Canadian way, but she spelled it S-O-O-R-Y, and Sean Marshall pronounced it S-O-R-A-Y. That's funny. Motivation Theory Running says he did not like running next to the woman at the Marine Corps Marathon with the metronome. He said it was like being tapped on the brain, like someone saying numbers out loud when you're counting. That is so funny. That is so funny. Viet Nguyen says, versus Apple Watch, which is a smartwatch with some running features? Yeah. Okay, he says, my decision with Garmin was because it was a running watch with some smartwatch features versus an Apple Watch, which is a smartwatch with some running features. And that's kind of a way that I look at it too, is that, which emphasis do you want to have first? Because the Apple Watch is a fantastic smartwatch. I love it as a smartwatch. I love it that it opens up my MacBook when I walk up to it. And I don't have to type in the password, which isn't that big a deal, except for the fact that those little, I guess all the MacBooks are kind of older MacBooks at this point, right? But my MacBook, the return or the enter button is kind of sticky or not sticky enough, I guess. So sometimes I have to really jam it to get it. So like I have to like type in my password and then it's like, I got to really hit it hard. So like when I'm wearing the Apple Watch and it just opens, it's really nice. I misplace things all the time, especially my phone. And now that we're in like a much bigger place, we're in my in-laws' house, I'm like misplacing things all over. I'm just going up and down the stairs. I go up and down the stairs all day long. And on the Apple Watch, being able to like ping your phone, really nice. A really nice feature. I love it. So, yeah. So it is a really great smartwatch. But I just like it being more running forward. And having that as the emphasis. Like I want it to focus on that first. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Chen Zhao says, buttons are awesome when everything is wet and moving. Yeah. Matt Frederick says, thinking about getting a GPS watch, what are some good, cheaper options? I would say that from Garmin has a couple of good ones. The 245, there's a 245, the 245 Music. I haven't tried those personally, but I tried the Garmin 45, and that was pretty good, except for the fact that I couldn't connect my power meter to it. I believe you can connect the 245 with a power meter. If I'm wrong on that, then you'd have to make the decision of, do I want to have a power meter or not? The Vivo Active 3 or 4 is also really good. That kind of really stretches it between, is it a smartwatch first or a running watch first? But ultimately, like it's not as good on the smartwatch side as an Apple Watch could be. but it was a pretty useful Garmin GPS watch, but there aren't that many buttons. For Polar, they have the Ignite and the Unite are their like entry level options. Both of them have a just absolutely beautiful screen, but only one button. I'm trying to think of what their entry level watch with buttons would be. I guess it would be the Vantage M. I'm not. Is there another? There's got to be another Polar that's cheaper than that one. So I'm not sure. The Sunto 5 is also good. I just don't think it's bright enough for me. I can't see it ever. So those are some options. Koros has a really good entry level, or like the price is really compelling. It's like $200. I don't think that one can connect to a power meter. I think Koros makes a power meter. I think you connect to their power meter, but that's one that I might be taking a look at. CV76 says, when I run near women, I intentionally run where they can see me in their peripheral vision. I do that too. And I hope I'm not being chauvinistic by doing that, but I'm just trying to be like aware of the fact that, you know, for a lot of women, safety during their runs is a big concern. A concern that I don't have for my own safety. You know, like I'm not usually too worried about that kind of thing. And so like I try to be aware of that and respectful. And like, you know, I try not to like, even if we're running the same pace, run like right at the same pace behind or in front of a woman. I try to like put some distance. Because I don't want anyone to feel like, who's that weird creepy dude? Especially now with the handlebar mustache. Although I feel like this isn't intimidating to anybody. So, I mean, I feel like I'm okay. Justin Swart says, what's a good cause to donate my old running shoes to? That's a really good question. I think you know, what I would love to do is there are lots of groups that will either take old running shoes and distribute them to like there's a lot of charity running programs. So like, and those types of programs may be servicing communities where kids can't get, or even adults can't get fresh running shoes or somewhat fresh running shoes. So I think that's like a good option. So if like there's something that you've had, you wore it for like a season and now you're like, I don't want it anymore, that kind of thing. Or you wore it like, but didn't really wear it for like a season, you know, that kind of thing where there's still, you know, a couple hundred miles left on the shoe. That's something that's interesting. I think most communities probably have that one person that takes the shoes and takes them to like a, you know, like a developing country, third world country kind of thing, and brings them there so that people that don't have access to shoes generally can have access to any kind of shoe. I donate mine to Salvation Army or like the local just general charity, because you don't have to use them as running shoes. They function as footwear as well. So that's kind of like my thought on it. And then there's like the other like end of the spectrum, which is like if you take them to a place that will recycle the shoes, they'll like take the materials, like they'll take the rubber off. The rubber can be used to make other track surfaces or something like that, or they could just be recycled some other way. There's a variety of them. The biggest difficulty for me is how do you get the shoes to the charity or the organization or the program in a cost-effective way? For me, like getting shoes to Salvation Army is pretty easy. Getting shoes to a place that will receive them for like recycling is like a day trip. You know, just maybe not, but it just seems like much more intimidating of a proposition. And so, you know, I get a lot of shoes come in. Our apartment in Chicago is really small, so I try to get rid of things as fast as I can. So like for me to have to be like, all right, here's my pile that I'm going to take to the shoe recycling place is really frustrating and like doesn't work for me. So that's like getting them to the place in a cost-effective way is always for me the biggest problem. Let's see. Someone had a question and it just moved as soon as I looked at it. Recycle on Wednesday says, I don't think that's chauvinistic for me in terms of my approach on not running behind women. She says, please don't sneak up on me. Okay, well, thank you for the confirmation. And Rainrunner says, as a woman, I appreciate this awareness for male runners. Good. Okay, good. All right. Meredith Roseman says, it makes me feel better when men just pass me so I can watch them. Oh, well, thank you for being thoughtful. All right, cool. Thank you for giving me some more insight. I would have been happy to be, I'm not happy. I would have been fine to be wrong on that too, but I'm glad to like have some kind of confirmation either way. I guess what that also shows you is that I don't run with a lot of women. because otherwise I would ask them. But yeah, hopefully that changes. Not because I'm looking to run with other women, but hopefully I can run with other people again sometime soon. Let's see. Someone was asking me about where hill surges fit in with MAF training. Let me see if I can find that. Let's see. I don't know. I can't find it. So, but I'll kind of answer that. Here it is. Paul R asks, how do you think the uphill surges fit into your MAF training? Would you charge the hills more than once a week? They don't really fit into the MAF training right now. Because I don't really think that with MAF training, if you're in kind of like the original onboarding phase, that it's something that you should be really doing, at least from the way that I understand Maffetone training to be. My understanding of Maffetone is like when you're like learning to train your body to run with lower heart rate, or like learning that, I envision it as it's a very jealous process, and like the moment you try to run another way, it'll be like, all right, forget all that stuff we've been doing for the past 2 weeks. I want to try this again, and it kind of like erases gains in a kind of way. That's the way I know that's not how it physiologically it works, but that's just kind of how I mentioned it, like compartmentalized it and disciplined myself like in my mind. And so I don't think you're really supposed to do it. The reason why I'm doing it is because, one, it's fun. Two, I'm trying to use my stride power meter more, or like look into training with power a little bit more, in addition to heart rate training. And so I just need some more data at those higher power numbers, and I haven't had any for a long time. So that's like another thing. And the third thing is like I'm just testing out the knee. I want to start a 5K kind of like training block. And before I do that, I want to like make sure like, okay, can my knee handle like some harder efforts? Does it feel better with harder efforts? Does it feel worse? So, like, what's it doing? So those are kinds of like that explains like why I've been doing it. But I don't really think it fits in with just regular MAF base building. I do think it can fit in very well with if you're doing more race specific training, where like maybe you're getting ready for 5K, 10K, half marathon, whatever it is. And for a fartlek, depending on how many hills you have, how like rolling the hills are where you are, you, instead of doing it like 2 minutes on, 1 minute off, you can charge up the hills. And that's kind of what I've been doing here. And when I do that, it ends up being a very loose fartlek where it's like, on for like a minute or two, and then maybe another 5 minutes of like coasting at like either flat or downhill, and then there'll be another hill. So it's just been a nice way to kind of like, all right, I'm not in a training block, but I want to start priming myself to get ready for the training block. I want to see if my body's ready for it. So that's kind of where I'm thinking like something like this fits in. It's kind of the same, like metabolically, I think it's a little bit different. But in terms of like the overall strain on the system, I'm kind of putting it in the same category as what people call as like up-tempo runs, or not quite threshold runs, something that's like a little bit slower than marathon pace kind of run. That's kind of like where I've been mentally classifying it. I'm not sure if that's correct, but that's where I've been putting it in my head. All right. All right. Max Pawsey says, please could I get your opinion on the ASICS GT 2000 version 8? Sure. I ran in that shoe earlier this year. I made, I think, at least one video about it. I think it's a pretty good stability shoe. Now, I don't like to run in stability shoes, so I didn't run in it very much. But I think I got 2 or 3 runs in it total. I think that shoe has Dynaflight in the midsole foam, if I remember correctly. It was a while. It's been a while now since I've looked at it. But I was impressed. I liked it. I felt like it was a pretty comfortable shoe. Not soft, not squishy, but I think for someone that's looking for stability, I think it's a pretty good option. I liked it. All right, let's scroll down. I think I'm like way behind on some of the comments here. Let's see where we're at. I'll just jump in here. Ines Dunbar says, if I'm approaching someone when I'm running, I speak to Pip, my dog. That way they know I'm there and they don't feel I'm expecting them to get out of my way. Yeah, I like that approach. It's nice to have the dog to help you with that too. Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's kind of like the runner's equivalent of like when you're in a public bathroom and like, you know, someone else comes in, you kind of like make a noise so that way they know that there's another person in there. Does anyone else do that, or am I just revealing some weird tick that I have? I said tick, that I have, T-I-C-K, or T-I-C, I think. Yeah. So, yeah. But I like that idea too. Just make it obvious that you're there and not trying to sneak up on someone. Sean Marshall says, "Can I just take double credit by calling my slow run / recovery days as Mapatone training?" Sure, I suppose you can. Kevin Hoegler says, "I've been wanting to learn more about running training. I've been doing math and was thinking of reading his big book of endurance training. Have you read this? Any other suggestions?" I read it. I think that for someone, if you're looking for like a training manual, it's not it. It wasn't what I was hoping for. It didn't explain kind of like the things I was hoping that it was going to explain. And it spent a lot of time talking about removing stress, the importance of sleep, cleaning up diet, moving away from refined sugars and processed foods, a lot of those things, which is probably all really good and important advice, and probably is a really big limiting factor on my performance, like keeping all those things in my life. Although I'm a lot less stressed out these days than I've been in a long time. So I was hoping for basically like a Mapatone version of like Jack Daniel's running formula, kind of book. So it was a little bit disappointing, but I do think it's worth reading. I would read it in conjunction with Matt Fitzgerald's 80-20 principle. So kind of read those two together, and whenever he says like easy or the 80%, just mentally insert the word Mapatone in there, because that's basically how I train. So that's kind of how I would look at those two, like approach learning more about like easy running and low heart rate training. And then Martha says, "I second the notion that I like being alerted if someone is stealthily approaching, though I don't listen to anything, so I can usually hear them. Bikes can be almost silent though." Yeah, I definitely, though, am a lot more concerned when I'm on a trail where I know, like, mountain bikers are going to be. Like, when I was running in San Diego the last time I was down there, I did listen to music, but I had it much lower on volume than I normally do. Because I was just like, I just feel like there's a mountain biker that's come bombing down this hill around the curve, and then we're just going to collide if I don't hear them in a way that I can get out of the way. So, like, I guess that's the closest that I've ever had to experiencing like those kinds of concerns. But all right. JC says, "Always try to speed past other runners. Just avoid any uneasiness. Nobody likes being followed closely." Yeah, you know what? One kind of like, I guess, itch hasn't been scratched for me this year running wise. I mean, I guess there's many in terms of like there are no races, and there's no run groups, and there's no like traveling for running, kind of all the other fun stuff I was planning. But the one thing that I haven't been able to do is secret racing along the lakefront path, which is a time-honored tradition over there in Chicago, is where people will just size each other up. And, once you get kind of close to someone, you'll see like how long you could stay like at the same distance behind them or same distance in front of them. You'll see if you can pass them. There's just a lot of that happens, and I haven't done any of it this summer. And your comment, JC, about always trying to avoid being followed too closely or following too closely just reminds me of that. Not that I do it in a creepy way. I don't think that I do it in a creepy way. It probably is a bit creepy the way that I do it. Maybe I think I'm just secret racing everybody and everyone else is just terrified of me like chasing them. That's I guess entirely possible. But I've talked to a lot of other people in Chicago who have admitted to doing the same thing. So maybe that's hopefully that's what it is. Let's see. Vivek Satyanarayanan says, I think I said that right. Satyanarayanan. Rainan. I'm sorry, I butchered that. I tried. Vivek says, "Do you think the Boston 9s are a better buy than the Boston 8s?" I think that they are. I feel like the foam, the Light Strike foam in the 9 is not as dense. I felt like the foam that was in the Boston 8 was a little bit thicker. Like it wasn't as soft, and it didn't give back. So it was like the worst of both worlds. And so I do think that it's a better buy. But there is a Boston 8 with Light Strike that I think if you can find those on sale and they're cheaper than the Boston 9, I think the difference between that Boston 8 and the Boston 9 are less significant. And so depending on, what kind of value you're looking for, that could be the better buy. So that's something I have no idea why Adidas did that, where they had the Boston 8, then a Boston 8 with Light Strike that they didn't ever specify that it's the one with Light Strike, and then the Boston 9 with Light Strike. It just really weird. Still confuses me to this day. Yeah. Mark Rainey says we all just need a cowbell to ring wherever we go. I suppose that's a good that would be a good solution. Or I guess we could all turn on the metronome apps on our phones and everyone would always know where we are. There we go. That's the solution. Just turn on that metronome app, drive everybody crazy. Oh, there we go. I think that's funny. That's total dad joke, and I cracked myself up over it. Wow. Mark Chan Coco said, I used the Boston 9s this morning, and it was tough for me to get into cruise control mode. Oh, that's interesting. I feel like that's what they're best at. They're just like, you can go a little bit faster in them, and they just let you keep going. That's interesting. Yeah. Wait, Lewis M says, there's an upcoming collab between the streetwear brand Noah and Adidas, and they have 2 nice SL20s coming? What? What is the deal with the SL20? I don't understand it. I understand it. I love that shoe. But, it gets, such weird treatment. It's getting collabs, but it's also getting, serious markdowns. I don't know. Vietnam says, imagine a 10K or a half marathon where everyone ran in sync. That'd be crazy. If they just blasted instead of music from the radio stations that are on the side of the race, they just blasted metronome app. It was just a giant throughout the entire race. Oh man, that'd be really creepy. Sean Marshall says, okay, so weird run details so far: coffee, SL20s, pizza, metronome app. Oh, that's funny. Reed Moore says, I don't know if I'll be able to resist a crispy suede SL20. I might have to pick that up just for to wear casually around. Yeah. Martha says, Kofuzi, I think I wrote the other day that physicists will solve the unified field theory before we understand what's going on with Adidas's lineup. That's true. It's like there's 3 different teams and they don't talk to each other. Maybe they've all mean girled each other and they're just I'm just going to do my own thing. Those teams over there, they can do whatever they want, but we're just going to make our own shoes over here. I just feel like that's what they did. Sean Marshall says SL20 does sound like a Disney boy band from the 90s. J. Mike Remy says the SL20 is a new Ultra Boost. I was just thinking today though that we've talked about the Ultra Boost 21 that's going to be super goofy and have New Balance Fresh Foam more levels of cushion in it, which will be interesting. But I'm also wondering, are we going to get an SL21? And if we do, will it be it was really successful in the streetwear category, but not in the running category? So we'll treat it like we treat the Ultra Boost, or is it going to be a running shoe? Man, so many questions. But yeah, today's been a good day, everybody. I think I gotta let it go right there. It's 3:54 p.m. I had a fantastic time on today's live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in and making it such a fun and enjoyable time. Man, the hour just flew by. Man, so much fun. Tomorrow we'll have another video in the morning. I think, if I can, it's going to be a video about the Pegasus 37 versus the Clifton 7. So I'll put those two shoes head to head. And then I think most likely... Oh, I didn't give you guys an update on my brother-in-law's situation. I didn't go down to Cedar Rapids yesterday because the crane that was supposed to remove that tree didn't show up. And there were no show, no call. As far as we know, they haven't showed up today. So at some point, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to miss a live stream probably to go down there and help take care of that. I just don't know when. We'll have to kind of play it by ear. But in the meantime, I'll try to keep you up to date as much as I can. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody.